Hey everyone, welcome back to the 10th anniversary celebration. We're going a bit retro here. We're doing Donkey Kong Country 1, but without Ted this time, way back in how we used to do things.
A bit retro.
Oh god. Okay, this remake is already showing so many red flags. It's not true to the original. We don't have John recording off a fucking Rock Band microphone. That was integral to the quality of the original early BrainScratch commentaries.
And the Skype call recorder.
Oh yeah, the Skype call recorder that would drop half of what we say. That's also. I mean, people don't appreciate what that added to the experience. You know what? No, I'm not even gonna. I can't even continue talking about this with a straight face.
Our old recordings are shit.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I could still sort of simulate the way if I get really close.
Oh yeah, you know what? Just throw a bunch of audio filters over everyone's audio tracks so that we sound really low quality and shit. Video filter CRT lines or something. Blurs. You blur.
Yeah.
It has to be blur.
Every audio track gets a high pass or low pass
You know what?
filter.
Just render the fucking Premiere file in 240. Interlaced.
No, 144.
144, and I'd have to make the part lengths exactly 959.
1059. We can just barely edge on 11 minutes, and that was the secret back then to getting longer than normal parts. Rate 5 stars.
And
When the subscribe button actually did something.
YouTube won't even do that thing that the PlayStation 4's Twitter share button will do, where you cut a part that's 1 second below the limit for Twitter, and then it'll say it's still 1 second too long because of the way it cuts the video.
Some things I don't miss.
As in, a lot of things.
Yeah. Anyone remember video responses?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
And back when we were starting the ranting community.
The ranting community was where I started. Jesus fucking Christ. That's embarrassing.
Well, it was 2008.
Okay,
Everybody was
here's the
ranting
thing.
about something then.
I have old rant videos. They were never super popular, which probably means they don't exist on the internet anymore. Thank God. Because
once it's on the internet, it never leaves. Someone has them archived somewhere.
Yeah, but if I could ever meet myself at that age, I'd want to punch myself because, for all the immature viewpoints that I have now, that probably need to be reassessed at some point within the next 5 years. All of my viewpoints were even more immature and needed harder reassessing, and I agree with...
That's called hindsight.
Yeah, I agree with virtually nothing that my past self used to say in rant videos, and even if I did, I would probably tell myself that was a really poor way to say it.
It's called being in your young 20s versus being in your 30s.
Young 20s? I think I was a teenager,
Oh my goodness,
Jesus
Lois, so many heated gamer words.
Man. A lot of the people I used to watch back then are still around. Not all of them. Like, one or two of them may have passed away in that time.
Hold on. I'm looking at my subscription list right now on my main feed, and I want to see who I've been subscribed for the past 10 years and I've never looked back.
A lot of the people that were around during that time changed their channels or stopped doing YouTube stuff and have been more active on other social media. I've got several people who I first met or spoke to during that time who I still am technically in contact with on Facebook, although I barely talk to some of them, and a few of them, just occasionally they'll cross my feed and I'll comment on something they post. But other than that, Darkness the Curse has another redone channel.
Holy fuck, did you say Darkness the Curse?
He's still around?
Yeah, I think his channel name now is The Darkness the Curse, which is...
Oh, The Darkness the Curse, okay.
And watching his videos, last time I actually did that, which was months ago, is like going back in time because I don't think he's upgraded his production quality at all since the old days. So it's like...
Gotta stop living in the past, man.
It's long enough that you can call it a throwback. So.
I mean, I think he wears a hat now. I think he might be wearing a fedora, actually. Oops. But he did an okay series on Tomb Raider fairly recently that actually got me interested in playing the series.
Yeah, the number of people that I'm subscribed to that I've been over for 10 years, I can count with one hand. And that really just says a lot about what the hell I've been watching the past 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you know, speaking of nostalgia, Donkey Kong. We're in one of those wonderful swimming levels.
Yeah. Also, for the record, this is not a 101% run. There's no point getting everything in this game.
No, you just want Cranky to accept you as a loving father or grandfather.
Depending
I don't know,
on-
is Cranky the father or grandfather? I don't know.
The Donkey Kong lore runs deep.
Yeah, not deep enough if you ask me.
There's time travel involved, so he's basically the father and the grandfather all at once. Don't ask how that works.
Oh man.
Also, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to try a cranky percent run.
That is 101% under 3 hours?
Less than an hour and no
Less
deaths.
than an hour.
Is that an official
Because that's
percentage
like-
the game gives you, or is it just like something that...
No, that is something Gerard came up with.
Oh.
Because at the end, if you don't get everything, at the end during the credits, Cranky says, I would have gotten everything in less than an hour, and I would have done it with 1 life. So the unofficial Cranky percent is 101%, less than an hour, no deaths. And it is possible.
No deaths. Yeah.
Does
It
he
is- yeah,
say
it is
anything
possible.
if you do it?
No.
Oh.
No.
So...
'Cause he's Cranky Kong.
So,
What the hell
so
do
the
you want?
devs were bold enough to put that in the game, but didn't think that players would actually be crazy enough to attempt
Dude.
it. That's
Probably. Well, according to Gerard, when he spoke to some actual developers of the game, that's basically the last remnant of an actual Cranky Kong mode.
Oh.
Yeah, so very early on, it was scratched pretty early, which is why there's like no sprites or anything for it within the game. But there was going to be a mode where you played as Cranky, but because he's an old fucker, he can't run. His jump is the worst in the game, and he basically has no attacks.
Oh, I see.
So they cut it really early, realizing that no one would enjoy it.
You're basically playing as a very limited version of Donkey
Yeah,
Kong. It sounds
yeah,
like.
and that would be why when Cranky actually did become playable in more recent games, he was basically Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
Because that's how you play an old fucker in a fucking platformer. You make them.
And there you have it. It's like you guys are wondering, why would I watch this when you guys were rated to DKC like so many years ago? We got your Cranky Kong trivia. All nice and student rated.
Yeah, now we
There
need
you
to
go.
just figure something out for parts 2, 3, and 4.
But this game doesn't have.
pretty sure.
But this game doesn't have a cool new funky mode,
No, it does not.
which I do have Tropical Freeze recorded, by the way.
Oh,
I'll
excellent.
get to it eventually.
I actually do like Tropical
Do we ever
Freeze.
have intentions of doing returns? And I still have not beaten that game.
I haven't actually played Returns. I mean, once Tropical
I've
Freeze
never-
came out, I was like, why bother?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'm never going to say never, because I'm sure we'll do it at some point, but Tropical Freeze is just better in every single way.
Well, that and
So-
I got Tropical Freeze for my Wii U for free when, like, right before the old reward system. What was it called? Club Nintendo went out. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it with my
No,
points.
Nintendo
right
Fun Club.
Yeah, I got it right before that went out. So, you know, I consider that worth my points. It was a fun platformer. I haven't finished it, but I've played substantially into it.
Yeah, another reason why it's really not that big of a deal, like, to get everything in this game, because there really is no incentive for doing it, unlike DKC 2 and 3. There's no hidden levels you unlock by getting bonus rooms. It's literally just bragging rights.
Jesus, this graphical style is ugly as sin, and I am
Well,
so...
what they did was they 3D modeled everything
I
and
know.
then digitized it. Okay, I'm explaining for also the audience. They made,
Those that don't know, yeah.
It's basically everything is a model, but they digitized
Yeah.
it into a 2D image.
Yeah. Think Mortal Kombat, only uglier.
But, Mortal Kombat with actual 3D models.
Yeah.
And not digitized actors.
Yeah. Although, not all of the characters in Mortal Kombat were digitized actors. Some of them were models, like I would say Goro.
Yeah.
That kind of character.
Goro
yeah.
was the 3D, and Kintaro as well. And I'm pretty sure Shao Kahn was a Muppet.
Man, how far we've come looking at the visual marvel of modern Mortal Kombat and the gameplay mechanics that actually aren't stiff as a board.
So, I don't know. I mean, as much as we can like pick apart the graphics at the seams nowadays,
This was impressive in
game
'94.
This game's graphic style was considered revolutionary for a console game. I should stress, console.
Yeah, but you know,
home market.
I learned to hate this kind of visual style because the Game Boy Advance was fucking full of it. and it very rarely looked good.
Well, because Game Boy Advance really just wanted to push. It's like, look, we finally have a handheld Super Nintendo, or like a handheld, like 32-bit console, a handheld.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
How do we really emphasize that? Pre-rendered graphics. All right, we'll just throw pre-rendered graphics.
Yeah, but you know,
some games did it better than others because I think there were some Bomberman games that looked good.
Yeah, you know, like
it.
there were also games that sort of half and halfed it, like Golden Sun, and that came out pretty okay. Although the super pixely battle graphics are something I could have done without.
Well, that's unfortunately a matter of looking at it on your Wii U or an emulator versus the tiny ass Game Boy Advance screen. It
looked terrible on the Game Boy Advance too. I played it on the Game Boy Advance when that came out. I was so hyped to have this Final Fantasy-like game on the Game Boy Advance, and even when I first played it, I'm like, you know what, this game looks fucking amazing, except in battle. It's like playing Wild Arms again.
Well, I mean, Mario versus Donkey Kong. I don't know if you guys ever played that on the GBA. Used pre-rendered graphics, and I thought that looked pretty good. But again, yeah, it helps if you play it in its native resolution and not blowing up to
its native resolution of basically nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I don't like playing handhelds these days, but back in the day, I did play quite a lot on my Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket, and Game Boy Advance.
It's one of those things where, even for nostalgia's sake, I can't do it. Like, if it doesn't have a backlight, I don't bother.
Yeah, the backlight is just mandatory.
Oh,
for shits and giggles, I booted up the Game Boy or Game Boy Color some time ago, and you know, I'm thinking, okay, I used to do this all the time with Pokemon. All I gotta do is get next to a lamp and have a great time. I still can't see shit.
I played on the original GBA, man. I didn't even notice it didn't have a backlight. I'm weird like that. But I wouldn't have been able to survive without the headphones, is the thing. And that's basically your choice with the Game Boy Advance. You either have the regular model that has no backlight or the SP model that has no headphone port. It's like...
That's why we gotta go to conventions and get those custom made GBA wides that have a backlight, but it's still the wide model. So
what you need is a DS, which has both.
There you go.
Yeah, if you wanna, yeah, that's the coward's answer.
It's the practical "I'm alive in 2019" answer. It's
the woke answer.
That and the Game Boy Player and the GameCube are where I play all my Game Boy games now.
I still need to get a game. Well, I need to find my GameCube before I even think about getting a Game Boy Player.
The real difficulty with the Game Boy Player is finding the startup disc.
Finding the disc.
Yeah, the disc is the problem. I panicked for a while because I thought I lost my startup disc, but it was just lost in my house. I found it.
It's also really easy to get ripped off with those kind of things because I've gotten ripped off twice trying to get a starter disc off of like Amazon or eBay.
And it doesn't have it in there. That's why I would save to buying it at a convention or something where I could verify that the disc is in there.
And hope that isn't.
I never would have guessed the GameCube would use Game Shark technology to get a goddamn a Game Boy Player working on the system though. Like. The Super Nintendo didn't need some big tumor growing out of the bottom of the system to run that.
Well, to be fair, the Super Game Boy was literally just a Game Boy without the screen shoved into a Super Nintendo.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it could do things that that a Game Boy couldn't, like display some color on the screen and put up a nice fancy border, but that's about it.
Yeah. And even then it had special color palettes for that game specifically that the Game Boy Color did not replicate, believe it or not.
Yeah, it was bizarre. You'd think they would have incorporated that in the color model, but...
I think off the top of my head, a few games that did that was Metroid 2, Return of Samus. I think Donkey Kong Land did that as well. And the Pokemon Generation 1.
Yeah, I know Gen 1
had
definitely
special
did.
Super
But you know,
Game Boy.
for all the
had Super Game Boy Color
for all the
palettes.
technical faults of Nintendo's handheld systems, they invariably do better than other systems that technically have better hardware because they just, they're just smarter about it and their game library. The Game Gear.
Ryan, I'm very proud of you. You could have taken the massive shortcut at the beginning of the
I am playing the level, damn it.
Welcome to the 80% playthrough.
It's not like this level's hard.
No, it's really not, but still, it's like, if you're going to bum rush it, just go left.
Yeah.
The Game Gear. I mentioned in the Tetris recording that I used to have one, and it was so neat to have a handheld and color, and
No,
for 2 hours.
I was gonna say the Game Gear itself is a perfectly fine system. The problem is it had no battery life.
Yeah. And that was...
If they saved the game here till like 94 when battery technology worked better, it probably would have done better.
Probably, yeah. Although the system that came out around that time was the Nomad, which had the exact same goddamn problem, but worse.
Yeah.
So they probably should have waited and made the Game Gear for 94, undercut the Game Boy Color a little bit, and that probably would have done better.
As much shit as we give it for the battery life, though, I still want a Nomad. Just
that's the running trend, though. There are a lot of competitors to the Game Boy DS, 3DS that were ahead of their time in many ways. Even the Gamecom can, to some extent, claim that for itself because it had like online features reminiscent of mobile phones. You just couldn't see the damn screen, so.
Well, I mean, depending on what you want to consider, technically the Game Boy Color had internet connectivity.
Are you talking about the IR sensor or the connection to the mobile device?
The Japanese-only connection to the mobile device for Pokemon Crystal, yes.
Oh,
right. Okay. So maybe like 3 people in the world know about that.
Old systems had that kind of stuff going on, like in really obscure ways. Does anyone remember seeing ads for the Sega Channel?
You wanted Netflix before Netflix? You think Google and Apple are revolutionary? Yeah, Sega was doing that shit 25 years ago.
And it was just a shit then.
Though. It's like often those add-ons were kind of just like region exclusive because I mean.
Well, no, it was an America only thing, I believe.
Yeah, Sega of America.
Was doing... I'm like Japan was keen on having shit like that for other consoles. You remember it was like the BS Satellite?
Yeah, for BS F-Zero.
I think that was Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah, it was a Super Nintendo thing because it effectively had F-Zero 2 on it.
Yeah, and N64 had the disc drive, that long-lasting disc drive that went for like what, a year, I think?
Something like that. Another thing that F-Zero took advantage of and then no one ever got to do because it's on a shitty side thing. Well, what is it with F-Zero and being on shitty peripherals? That really helped the experience, but no one can play.
F-Zero was unfortunately the fucking poster child for being experimented on, and that's why you don't see it anymore, because it finally collapsed from all its damn experimentations.
Man.
So many drugs.
Well, it's stupid because the disk drive add-on for F-Zero X is actually really good. It's a track editor. You can make your own tracks.
Unfortunately, it's like it was just too niche.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, on the bright side, its failure gave us Majora's Mask.
Japan or around that time was really keen on technological experimentation because tech was sort of their thing. But the Sega of America was doing all sorts of weird shit around that time too. So, you know.
I mean, where do you begin?
The 32X.
I guess we would say
the obvious answer is the 32X. Yes. The Saturn release coming out of fucking nowhere was another weird decision.
More specifically in North America, because in Japan there was more build up to it.
Yeah,
which is why it did better in Japan. Which is oddly why it did better in Japan than it did in America.
Well, Japan also just had better games.
Well, that too, but
I mean, I'm still bitter about not getting 2/3 of fucking Shining Force 3. Okay.
So how do you finish it?
You get a Japanese version.
You get a there's a fan patch. I'm not sure if it's completed or still in progress, but basically you make yourself a disc version of the Japanese editions of all 3 scenarios and patch in the translations, and then you can play the real version of the game. Or is
that even viable on a console? Or do you have to use an emulator?
I think you have to mod the console, but I'm not sure. If you can,
we'll have to ask Russ.
If you have if you have a fucking thinking machine supercomputer or something, you can probably emulate the Saturn well enough to play it on your computer, maybe. But I can never get fucking Saturn emulation to work on any of my computers, so good luck with that.
There is only one Sega Saturn research laboratory, and Russ is there 24/7 as its lone.
No, lone version. No, him and Brad Flick.
Brad Flick.
What?
I follow him on Twitter. You know, he's the guy, John. He's the Sonic Mania guy we met a couple years ago at Fan Jam.
Oh, Brad.
Yeah.
Oh, that. Okay, no, you said Brad. There, I thought.
I said his username because that's the only way people are gonna find him.
Okay. All right. It was like I read that as one name. It's like Brad Flick. I was like, I don't know what that means.
So here we are playing a 2D Crash Bandicoot level. Crash Bandicoot did okay on the Game Boy Advance, but you know it got a bit too similar to the 3D console games in places, and No, but seriously, this looks like
Have you guys ever played? Well, Lewis probably didn't, but did you ever play Donkey Kong Land?
Not me.
I had 2 on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
No, I had 1 at some point. I probably lost it at some point.
Yeah, Donkey Kong had a weird sort of like series parallel to it for a time before they decided to just port the games into the Game Boy Advance. But yeah, there was the Donkey Kong Land series. It's like pretty much remixed versions of the first 3 games, where it's not quite the same, but it borrows a lot from the country.
Yeah.
But it does its own thing for the most part. And I've only sampled the first one.
They're very weird games and they're hard to look at.
I can imagine.
Pre-rendered graphics on a Game Boy. God help us all.
I'm getting Sonic Blast. Sonic Blast is the game, right? Yes, that's Sonic Blast.
Yeah, Sonic Blast is probably right. No, you're right. You're right.
Sonic
You didn't
Blast.
mispronounce that.
Flashbacks from that. I mean, Sonic Blast had color on its side, but it was also an 8-bit game, so yeah.